Right, welcome to part 3 dealing with Openfiler, and in this part we've got our Openfiler virtual machine up and running, so that's hunky-dory and ready to go. We can see if we have a look, df-h, we can actually see that we've got in fact our file system in and running, and fdisk-l, pull that through more perhaps, and we can see that we've got again the main device, our HDA device, and then we can see that we've got SDA, which is the one of our devices that were made available for iSCSI, and SDB just mentioned at the bottom there, both of sort of 20 gigs or thereabouts available space for our iSCSI targets. So they seem to be up and running, so we can move that out of the way. What we need to do first of all is create an iSCSI initiator. So iSCSI init could be a good name for the VM. Probably going to build some Linux on here a little bit later, maybe 64-bit or something a little bit later on. Whoopity-whoop, there we go. Just put the memory up. Reason on out of memory, stops those input outputs unnecessarily, and no hard drive to create, so create. Yeah, I knew I didn't want to create a hard drive, that's fine, so continue, and there's our iSCSI init VM. So into settings, into storage, see we've got an IDE with an empty CD DVD, we can use that later to install, using an ISO of course, an operating system onto our iSCSI target. No iSCSI target as yet. Go down to controllers, add a controller, add a SATA controller. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach an iSCSI target to that SATA controller. So we should see that listed under here a little bit later on. So it's okay that. We'll come back to that a little bit later on. First things first, let's bring up a command window and let's make sure that we can actually ping-a-ding-a-ling across to the SAN, and we can. So all is good by the looks of things, so at least our commands should not be in vain. I am in C:\program files Oracle VirtualBox. Of course you could add this to the path if you prefer, and in here I have a number of VBox options. The VBox option I'm going to start with is VBox manage. When you start typing, hit the tab, hit the space, list, and HDDS. Probably pipe that through more because there are a few of them on mine. And what I have here is the list of essentially the disks associated with the VMs. Each disk has its own unique user ID or unit ID, which is its UUID, and we can then see the disk that essentially relates to. Yeah, sort of plugged in at the end there. So those are some of those. So if we scroll down, we can see some VDIs. These are the ones that I created earlier. There's SAN1. There, in fact, is Openfiler, the disk that I created the Openfiler on, the Openfiler SAN, and there's SAN2 hiding away at the bottom there. No IQNs, no iSCSI qualified names, not created yet. So let's create one. So it's a VBox manage command, so VBox M should be enough, and hit tab. Remember to hit the space. It's a storage attach, and it's the iSCSI init. Maybe I should have chosen a simpler name. So this is what I'm going to attach to. What am I going to attach to? Well, actually, I need to tell it that storage control is SATA, and the port is 0. The type is a hard disk drive, and the medium, of course, is good old iSCSI. The server is next, and that's 192.168.1.209, and the port, normal ports, this is for the Wireshark gurus in the room, is 3260. So make sure you've got that. Set correctly, and we are sort of almost there. The last bit that we need to put in is the actual target, and that's the IQN value. And if you've still got that on your clipboard, all very well and good. because you got that from OpenFiler, so we should be able to paste that in. Oops. Of course, I haven't got it in my clipboard. Let's put it in my clipboard, does help. And paste him in. There we are. And hit return. We're looking for a disk created. So we're looking for that output, iSCSI disk created, and its user ID. We could confirm that just by, again, looking, and it'll be the last disk. So hit the disk list, and we can see that we've got our particular iSCSI target. If we minimize that, and if we go into settings and storage, we should find, if we click on that, there it is. And if there's network connectivity, then you'll actually see the virtual size and the actual size. These two will actually show up. Otherwise they'll be blank, and there'll probably be a warning triangle over this. So if that's the case, you've got network connectivity issues, and it might be that it's a VBox network connectivity issue. So go and check those out. That's why we did the ping to start off with, in order to make sure everything was hunky-dory. So that's not in use as such, because it's just a blank disk at this moment in time. Remember, we just got to go through a normal install, and guess what? That's in the next part. So come back to the next part and we'll install something Ubuntu style probably onto that iSCSI target. One thing we could have a look at, of course, is we could pull Wireshark in. And let's bring Wireshark. Let's remind me later. So no, I haven't got the latest. Just the one I've been playing with more recently. So bring that in. Let's see. I mean, I could pick it from the list below. I know it's old habits. So having a look, see where the activity is. It seems to be on the wireless network connector on my device. Yeah, I've got a VirtualBox only one here as well. In fact, let's select that one, because that's of course is the one that I connected the interfaces to. Yeah, there is some activity elsewise, but let's see what this activity is here. So we click on there and we should see some stuff coming in. There's a lot of TCP stuff going backwards and forwards, so that's probably the web browser. Let's see if there's any iSCSI traffic in there. Nope. Okay, let's stop that one. Let's try the other interface. Let's bring the other interface in as well. See if we've got anything there. Doesn't seem to be. So just going back, make sure I've got the interface selected correctly. So yeah, we'll just deselect that, start that. Lots of TCP traffic, of course. We pull up the web browser, just log out of there and close that down. Then essentially our TCP traffic that we saw there will come to an end. Right, so just flashing up the Wireshark again, of course no iSCSI traffic. Once we start the build process, we'll start to see some traffic there, and the sort of an initial trigger. One thing that we might want to review. So at the moment I've got a disk there that's in play, but I might have made some mistakes on the install, and I might want to recover that. So some useful sort of commands to deal with. So let's just have a look at some of those. We bring up WordPads. Have created some here. Let's just make sure that this refers to the correct device first of all. So it's iSCSI-init. It's the storage control SATA, that's correct. It's HD drive and it's port 0. And what I'm going to do here is, instead of the medium being iSCSI, I'm going to set the medium to none. So let's try that out as a command. So let's bring up a command window and paste that in. And if we have a look in VirtualBox, we now see that the SATA drive has lost its iSCSI device. So that's just simply by changing the medium to none. Now let's have a look at the hard disk drive. So again, we could type this in. It's always useful to have stuff on tap. We can see that the actual drive that we were dealing with before is down here, the last one in the list, and again we can see its UUID is here. That's the bit that I'm after, so hit enter after you've marked it up and pop that in here where we've got user unit unique ID and paste that in. I find it doesn't really matter if there's too many spaces here, but what we're doing here is we're closing the medium on this disk, and the disk is the actual UUID. So let's copy that in and then pull that in, paste him in, press return, and then repeat the list hard disk drives, and he has gone from memory. Yep, of course he is in memory. If we remember, we can go up to the command history, and that looks familiar. Just going to make sure the IQN is correct. If it's incorrect, it won't attach, of course, because there won't be a device that's there. Let's have a look, see what Wireshark made of all of that. There we go, some iSCSI traffic as a result of, in this case, removing. So let's just clear that trace up. Let's restart that. And we're just about to execute this command. And let's see again what Wireshark had to make of that. And we can now see, scroll along quite happily, got login commands. There's no chat request responses there as yet, because of course we didn't put any chat authentication on, but there would be. And then we can then start to see SCSI and iSCSI traffic going backwards and forwards between those devices, and you'll see a whole lot more when you start the build and when you start essentially loading up that what is now effectively a hard disk drive associated with that virtual machine. So that's in ready into play. Of course, what we now need to do is get our way from being empty to actually being an ISO and install something on that available iSCSI target, and that's in the next bit.